Hello, everybody. I'm Wiz, or Radagast, as some of you know me. And this is another, let me kind of get my friend going here. This is another Cosmic Emporium TOTCAST. And I'm revisited again by Vern. Hello, Vern.
Kira Takwe.
Okay. What he said. And so we're based, we're both forum members, and we're kind of members of the alternative community, and we're going to try and keep the conversation going around the Bill Ryan, what we'll call the Bill Ryan Corey Goode clearing out. But again, we're trying to really find, besides that clearing, a greater clearing that is there. If you want to jump in here before I keep on going, Vern.
It's been beautiful to watch just the last 48 hours how something that could have got messy, could have got very nasty, is chugging along with a wee bit more cohesion than anybody expected. When you see some of the forum threads that are about, and that's a sign of the times. It's a sign of wise wizards like yourself that we're able to look at, like you're more oriented towards knowing yourself than a blue avian outlook, whereas I'm actually open to the blue avian outlook. But if it's a load of bullshit, it doesn't worry me so much because it's a tale. And a lot of what I'm seeing is people calling themselves out instead of calling out their out. So that once again, that's that know thyself going within. The calling yourself out. That lying to yourself is the hardest and maybe the last step in our spiritual evolving to the know thyself. So I feel that there's a few people going, cocked up or stuffed up, or I've been taken for a wee bit of a ride. Whether they're on the right or wrong side of it, they're looking at their steps instead of looking at others' steps. And that's a big thing. That's just that's people holding hands that don't like each other, if you want to call it that, when you're a kid and you get told, get in a circle and hold hands, and you're sitting there, I'm not holding hands with that prick, and yet it's like being grown up and going, well, we're on the same boat. And I love the way you said it on the last Mystic Brew, how the media is cohesive, they're getting told the storyline though, whereas we haven't got the same storyline. At one point we have, because we're seeking or looking or have got that know thyself attitude, but being cohesive, we are not in comparison to the mainstream liars as such, or plastic people as you call them. So I feel that thought pollution or clearing energy that you were talking about, right on the nail. On that micro scale, we're having basically when people get into synchronicity and they're trusting in the universe, they're automatically clearing themselves. So I think on a macro scale, that appears to be happening. There's a clearing happening because of synchronicity. People are about to beat their drums or in one way or another, watching that Mystic Brew you did, or the previous TOTCAST, to be like, oh, better look at things a bit differently. Well, I am looking at things a bit differently now. Thanks for that bit of guidance on that, and the role modeling in a way that a lot of the wiser ones are doing, including BR himself, and Corey Goode and David Wilcott, because it's the lies we tell ourselves that are the last stage. So it is a last stage happening, which is the beginning of the next stage. So that's my little start in reply.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. I mean, one of the kind of a title I was working with, especially if I had done a show by myself tonight, was how much truth do we need before we can begin to act?
Can't quite hear you, Brad.
Oh, you can't? You don't hear me?
Can you just repeat what you just said?
Okay. A possible working title I had tonight, if I had done a show by myself, would be how much truth do we need before we feel we can act? A case in point, let's say you went to a seminar of somebody doing an herb walk, like what kind of herbs in a certain locality you could eat. And so let's say they went prepared, they found out which ones were there, and they give a talk and they show you pictures of all kinds of food that you could eat that are in a local area, and here are pictures of it. When that lecture's done, I would think a good portion of people would want to hit the fields, go to nature, and find some of this stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I just learned that there's stuff to eat out here. I may not eat it, but let me go at least identify it. And if one of those shit hits the fan moments, I now know how to forage minimally. Okay. So that's what that seminar led to. To me, a lot of the stuff that's passing for truth is when you're done with that delivery of truth, what are you ready to do with it? Like I said, if you learn about herbs, you can go out and find them. There's all this information around, but what's to me is there's truth seeking, but also I feel we're at a point where it's time for us to either start building the world we'd like to see, or we're going to get a world that was built for us and it looks a lot like a cage.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Well, the root of that is that the synchronicity to get to that talk or seminar about the herbs. So the synchronicity is there to move naturally to actually, herbs, I want to go there, I'd like to learn that, and therefore put that into place. So the synchronicity, or the universe working with you, or you working with the universe, is the root cause of you being there. So everybody that's going on these truth in this truth culture as such are following their truths. So the synchronicity to get there is the big thing. So I would put forward that the synchronicity at the moment is people are going, I want to live better, I want to know more, and then the guidance from the universe, or trusting in the universe. If they're meditating every day, just that 10 minutes in the morning or whatever it is, Tai Chi, yoga, their synchronicity is going to be better. In the age we're living in at the moment, especially the last 5 years, but especially the last 6 months, for those that are doing a lot of meditation, etc., I'm sure I'm hearing it from people around me, and the different things I'm involved in, from qigong, oneness, etc. That the synchronicity is moving up. If they're looking for something, it's happening faster. So I feel that the more and more people that are obviously, because they wanted to find out what the hell's going on out there and then going in here, are having greater synchronicity than we did in our times 5, 10, 15, 20, or yourself 30, 40 years ago. So that speeding up process is happening because of the greater synchronicity. Putting things into place once you've got that synchronicity, as you said, the herbs, learning about the herbs. Some people will be too lazy to go out into their backyard or the fields around them or in the countryside. Others will be sitting there going, this is so exciting.
The point I was trying to make is, like, in other words, that kind of seminar or finding new information has a utility, an immediate utility. What does watching, I don't know, 10 series of Blue Avians on Gaia TV, what do you want to do after watching that? What's the next thing you want to do? You want to see another episode?
Yeah. It's a hard one because you get something that you're into and it's working on yourself to know better outside of yourself. Is it doing it as far as the Blue Avians are concerned? There's the intrigue factor, because we don't know what the hell's going on as far as humanity linking up with outside of Earth. And there's a huge intrigue there. There was a huge intrigue for me about the secret space programs, etc. You know, at a certain point, it's like I accept now that humans are out there to whatever degree. They've been, you know, at a certain point, it's like, yeah, and how and why. So the next level comes along of Corey Goode's material. A lot of people are going to jump into it just simply because there's no other or not much information along those lines. And it was Twain said that the truth is stranger than fiction, or whatever that one was. It's down those lines. So you're hearing more and more people wanting to know out there, but eventually they will come back into here. And I suppose part of his message has always been as well to go in here. So yes, you're going to be looking for your next hit of information, etc. But there doesn't appear to have been a hell of a lot of extra information on out past Earth of recent from Corey that I know of anyway.
The New Earth series by Sylvia Ivanova is probably one of the most important works that have been put out in the past couple of years involving our history, cover-ups, the things that actually affect how we can operate in real time now. And it's one of the least discussed. I mean, she's even made videos talking about her own shock at how unengaged people are. And I share her shock.
What's it called on the TOT forum, that thread?
When the Atlanta survivors woke up.
Yeah, now that thread, it's so powerful. I research. I'm a researcher, and I've got all this research behind me, say 15 years, and I come upon that thread, and every available moment after that for the next month and a half, 2 months, I'm going through each video, and there's 50 odd videos plus what other members are post, and I'll post a couple myself just on. It's like, wow, it just opens you up to. It's incredible. I'd far rather see somebody into that material than secret space programs and that, because it brings it back to Earth. But then you've also got the other facet of Corey's material when they're talking about cities beneath the Earth. And I also believe there was just through the Waitaha law in New Zealand, it's spoken of the ones below. So there's cities below us, there's peoples below us.
Yes,
many, I believe. So there's also.
And I think they're waiting for us to make it safe for them to come up.
Well, we're a pretty scary lot as a whole still.
Well, we're a scary lot as long as we have governments making decisions for us. It's these sick parasites at the top making decisions that make us the creepy, scary things. I mean, a big part of Sylvie's thing is there's a different narrative that's based on our survivors and a more wholesome culture. And that war making is a relatively late introduction by organized warfare. I'm not talking about two villages going at it because somebody, I'm not talking about that low level stuff. And some of it was a lot of chest thumping, and it wasn't organized warfare. Organized warfare is a very recent introduction onto the planet. And it's from a specific energy, and it's an energy that has spread. And that narrative really, the Protestant Reformation was a big part of it. The Gutenberg press allowed all those books to be burned with all those witches, and the Protestants were the bigger prosecutors, not the Catholics. Yeah. The Reformation, the invention of the Gutenberg press are pivotal moments, and then Gregory's reconfiguring the calendar, telling us that, from this point to this point is when Jesus was born. It actually kind of annoys me when I'm watching archaeological things and they'll say 952 BC. Okay, as I said, they put as a date. So that's 11,552 years ago. Why? It's so insidious that even when they're giving you a date, you have to take the BC and add 2,000 to whatever number you're given, so you know how many years ago it was. That's part of a narrative.
I like to bring it back to smaller sections within bigger sections, those wee wheels and big wheels. I think Jose Aguirre's put it on 3113 BC as a start date for the 5,200 year part of the Mayan calendar cycles, and which is a perfect start date with the 13s.
Can I just interrupt you there? Only because, again, he used the BC thing. That BC date is the date that Gregory set. We don't know that that's in fact 2,000 years ago. And that's what's so critical about this.
Totally. Well, when the first Pope Gregory, and you've got to remember that the first Pope Gregory was the first Pope to stand down or get stood down, and the second Pope Gregory was the second one to get stood down, the last one. So it's very interesting that they both come around those calendar times. But that first Pope Gregory, he got, from memory, the 4 best Mayan stelae or stones with the writing on, got them into the Vatican, got the head mathematician in the world at that time, a German, can't remember his name offhand, and a huge amount of Vatican staff in the different sciences, and they went about over 2 years, and they took it from the Julian calendar out of the days. If you can imagine waking up and it was like the 10th of August one day and it's the 22nd of August the next day, that's what they did. I know one portion of the world didn't follow it for another 60 years, but they soon came in line. So that was a point in time where they were trying to, I'm sure, just as they get a book and they change that book when they rewrite it, as Flamenco has said that they have through the Sylvia's material, it's like, I'm sure that they were doing the mathematics to get everything in perfect alignment at that time. Whether they were actually already in some sort of perfect alignment with a BC date, I don't know. I feel so, but I still feel that our history's been written for us. I just feel that the 3113 BC date that Jose Aguas used was more than likely spot on by the mathematics and the above alignments at that time. I'm open to him being incorrect.
No, so here's what I'm saying. Like, in other words, it's probably correct. But again, like, let's say, again, if we're talking about 11,000 years ago, okay, it happened 11,000 years ago. When somebody normally says it, they're going to say in 9,000 BC. You know what I mean? Like, it's, first of all, it's once. Why are we taking this extra step? What's the matter with 11,000 years ago? I mean, if we're interested in how long ago it was, why don't we just say 11,000 years instead of 9,000 BC? I mean, it's this silly little math equation. And
you're going to take me down a strange pathway here, but this is what I've done it on the forum a few times. This is the Vatican cloak. I call it the Vatican cloak, and it's hard to take the Vatican cloak off unless you've done your DNA work. Because just looking at your computer now, you're going to be looking at what's today, the 9th, or whatever it is, of the 5th of 2017. Now that's the Vatican right there.
Right.
That's control. That's your Vatican cloak that you wear, unless you've done the DNA work or you've done the know thyself mind work strong enough. You're still under the Vatican cloak. So when you go BC, it's the same thing as looking at the clock down here at the bottom of your screen. Mm-hmm. It's a Vatican cloak, and it's not natural. It's not in alignment with the moon at this time, the sun at this time, everything around us at this time. The plant doesn't go under the flax bush and the whatever behind me. They don't go by the Vatican cloak. They go by the natural cycles of time.
Right.
So we're getting taken out of the natural cycles of time.
Yes.
When you get back into your natural cycles of time, you get back into greater synchronicity. So when the Vatican is trying to hold on to that Vatican cloak, time, if you know time, you know your own mind to a high degree. So that Vatican cloak is something that people don't choose to look at. And even, I can go onto a thread, onto the forum, any forum, and put a thread on it, and people are going to go, Vatican cloak? What are you talking about? Well, it affects you. Because just looking at the computer screen, yes, you're being affected by the Vatican cloak. It's absurdly simple, but it's so hard to comprehend that it does affect you to some degree. If you've done your mind work and your DNA work, sure.
That was great. That's why I really enjoy having you on the show again, because between the two of us, we get a lot of we cover a lot of sides.
Yeah.
So and let's see, we were talking. Oh, that's right about that. Yeah. So Sylvie is very, is quite frustrated that what the reason that she put the videos up to try and help people string this together, and also to realize that how great our lineage is, and that there was and the biggest part of screwing with the timeline and stretching things out is it puts some of the things that look really sweet, they make it look like, oh, that was thousands of years ago and everybody was primitive. There's some gaslighting going on with our history, its length, who was civilized, who wasn't. It's one big deception. And she was trying to point it out, and people just seem not to be so interested.
Well, you go back in history, wherever the mind murderers went, the first thing they did was kill the oral people, the oral storytellers, the priests, the ones that kept time, the ones that kept the different facets for their tribe, the lineages, so that they keep the bloodline strong. The first ones they got rid of were those ones. They had to, and they were the mind killers as much as they were, etc.
I'm going to move on.
Okay, I'll do it for 5 minutes. Okay, thank you. That was it. Wink and nod. Got to go in a minute, Marty.
Okay. Okay, you can hear me, right?
I can, yeah. I got 2 minutes.
Okay, so finish up.
Okay. I'll thank you again, Marty. I really.
Oh, you could have finished that. I meant to finish that thought. If you recall.
Where was I? Sorry. Mind murderers. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So they were doing they had a mission, and they always did a great job wherever they went. They had to do the mind murdering first. You don't go and kill everybody. You need your slaves. You need your people to get things going. So the mind murdering was always done first, and that was always done by very selectively. And the ones they couldn't coerce, if they had the family members there, they'd always go for a nephew that was never going to have power, and they'd put them in power, have their puppet, and they're still doing that today. So, and that's a form of mind murdering that had to be done so strongly wherever they went. Now you've got people nowadays around the world coming out with their oral histories. They had to be written down at a certain point because of the oral history, and it happened noospherically. They had to start writing stuff down. In Ireland, you've got the Four Masters material. Ireland's the only place in the world that goes on their myth as their true history.
Yes.
Which is a hell of a lot closer to the true history than probably any other history of any other country in the world.
Mm-hmm.
It's great to see that happening, and I believe even in New Zealand here, we're starting to go, oh, it's obvious now that there was people here, and they're still around because they put a couple of a song of Waitaha, Whispers of Waitaha, put it out there, but the average New Zealander doesn't know about it. But it's starting to come out more so now, and even the next peoples, Maori peoples, are starting to go, yeah, looking at the archaeology, looking at all the things coming out, there had to be people here, there may be people alive still with that oral knowledge, and there is, well, those books wouldn't have been written, and I've met them. So this is happening all around the world, and it's going to be safe now. It is safe now, well, getting safer to start sharing that again. There's stuff in Ireland, there's stuff in Scotland. It's waiting to come out all around the world. And it's already coming out probably. We'll see it.
I think there's a huge mother lode in Eastern Russia too, or Central Russia.
Massive. Oh, yeah.
Mother lode.
And I can bet you that Putin, etc., they know the timelines to put stuff like that out, because it's basically dying by a million cuts, and Putin has already done many cuts, and the people around him, the whatever you want to call them, whatever hat you want to call them.
Mm-hmm.
It is at the moment like watching the cuts slowly each day, each week, another little cut, another little cut, another little cut, and that truth culture we were talking about last time. Doesn't it sound good?
Oh,
Truth
yeah.
culture.
Yes.
You know, that means everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Black, white, doesn't matter.
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, I can't. I mean, that's why. Actually, what I wanted to say was, I made a video a couple of days, about a week ago, almost. It was, on race. It was like my thoughts on race, divide and conquer, and where I really just kind of, like got into the spirit and like how, like the idea of an America without the blacks who have made America with us. If like suddenly they were gone, we'd like, oh my God, it'd be horrifying. I mean, it'd be not forget it. I mean, America is who makes up America and kind of thinks along those lines. America. I mean, it's just. I mean, and the Africans who were brought here, what they contribute is culture. It's you can't remove it. It's part of the fabric. It's part of the weave. Anyway, that went up almost a week ago. 52 views.
Yeah.
I mean, my botched attempt at a stream has 137 views.
I've got my beautiful queen waiting.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much again, Mod. Loved it. Loved talking. I love the way the BRCGZW thing is going. I'm still seeing a bit of nasty arrogance, etc., from different people in different places, and that's people's own stuff usually. It'll clear as we go, as you said, the clearing of the thought pollution, and we've got to remember that mind murdering that happened, that has to be transmuted, and I feel very much that we're in that process, and it's lovely to be part of that process. So thank you. Good flight.
Thank you, Vern. It's always a pleasure. All right. And so Vern will be leaving us. I'm just going to close up a little piece of software here, and I'm back. So I'm not going to say a whole lot. This was a Cosmic Emporium, and now that I'm alone, it's no longer a Cosmic Emporium. So I just want to thank Vern. I want to thank all the people who've been following this story. I mean, it breaks with Bill Ryan on Project Avalon. It involves Corey Goode, and it involves what we're going to do in our alternative community, and to me, how serious we want to be taken. And I just want to put this one thing out for everybody, okay? The ones who control everything, the deep state, all the people who surveil us, they are paying attention. So when they see people like Mark Passio, who was putting out some real dangerous ideas, when they see that he gets strips and drabs of attention, that makes them happy. I don't know about you. Anything that we do that makes them happy doesn't make me happy. And them are the global controller, totalitarian parasites, psychopaths, just the anti-human types. All right. So they're observing us. So to me, first of all, when they see us bickering, of course they'll smile. They'll go, there they go. See, I mean, there's nothing even important at stake here, but they'll fight over everything, and we do. We often can be quite petty. And we have a lot of us have so many childhood issues that get dragged into these things, and that certainly muddies things up. And but to me, when they see that a huge part of what are a potential threat to their way of doing business gets sidelined to things like, the Blue Avian story. But I mean, look, there's a whole wealth. I mean, look, Alfred Webermont, he has all these very, very interesting, odd sometimes. I mean, that woman, Lauren Monet or Moray, I mean, she's fascinating. She's really intelligent. I mean, that's probably one of the few guests that he has that I will listen to. And I will learn things from her, but rarely do I come away with learning something that will actually always help me. But sometimes those connections allow me to see some dots. I mean, she's a real good investigator. I mean, I like her, and plus she's a character. I love characters. When I see a character, that lets me know I see a human. When you see those super neat and very orderly, man, orderliness to me is sometimes, not always, but it's just like, okay, let me check out. Is this just a fastidious type, or is this a robotic type? But we're being observed in many ways. So if we could step back from our behavior for a second and take a look like down at like, gee, if I were one of them looking at us, what do I see? That's a really useful perspective, because our behavior is sending signals. And man, I don't like that. I know currently that, let's look at it this way. We all think, everybody has their own opinion of Alex Jones. It's not important for me to put my opinion. But the thing is, they are going after him big time. They now have a couple of people suing him. And the whole reason is to shut him up. And why do they want to shut him up? Because what he's talking about is actionable and has real impact and threatens them. The Blue Avians don't threaten them. They probably made it up. So we have some real looking within, and to first of all check ourselves, and then look out at the community we participate in, and what do we look like from people who, do we want to look like we actually have the capacity for reason and logic, or do we want to look like an illogical group that will go after any new unicorn? Because if we like unicorns, there will be an endless supply of unicorns given to us. We have to get ahead of ourselves to get ahead of this thing. It's AI directed. This, like I said, the least gifted amongst us are probably capable of staying ahead of that. And of course, if we're all one, then we're a collective intelligence, and the AI has zero chance against that. Okay. God bless you all. Stay sane. Look within. Look within. Don't be afraid to find stuff. Find it, because if you find stuff and can fix it, you're better. And so that's also work. Let us be the new elite. Elite, not elite to govern people, elite performers, so that when we work together, we can do miracles. Till next time.